Good morning, it's your bro here, Father Rigo. Once more, we're back this morning to our daily reflection. And today, we will be looking at a continuation of yesterday's gospel. And in today's gospel from Luke chapter 13, verses 18 to 20, Jesus talks about the kingdom of God. Now, we have heard Jesus talk about the kingdom of God in so many different places in the different gospels, especially like in Matthew, where he talks about the breaking forth of the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God. But today, all of a sudden, following yesterday's incident when Jesus cured that poor sick woman at the synagogue, now he goes on to talk about what the kingdom of God is like. And he uses two imagery. He uses that of a mustard seed and that of baking bread. Now, fun fact, just during this pandemic, I picked up baking and I can now call myself an amateur bread baker. Not to give you any ideas, I do not want to be receiving requests on bread. Anyhow, but you might be lucky and I might make you bread sometime. We'll see. Anyways, back to today's reflection. So why does Jesus use these imagery? Well, already in that culture, using the mustard seed was something that a man would have immediately related to. And using the baking of bread was something that the women also would have related to immediately. Lucky for us today, we all can relate with both things because we all plant, we all bake, These are things that we are all familiar with today, and it doesn't matter whether you are male or female, we all do these things. And as I'm speaking, I'm sure some of you do have flowers in your homes. And now I imagine that every single day you probably try to make sure that the plants that you have in your homes have the right nutrients, be it water or fertilizer or whatever that you need to nourish these flowers, just to make sure that they get to the perfect nature that you want them to be, to produce those beautiful floral, red, pink, purple flowers, whatever they are. We all make sure that we're careful to provide these needs for the plants. Same with the baking of bread. Now here's the thing, the most tricky part in baking bread is getting the right temperature to activate the yeast. Now I am speaking from experience. There are times, especially when I just started baking bread, that I will miss the temperature and my dough will not rise. Now, Jesus is telling us that the kingdom of God, even though it ends up being this large, beautiful tree, like the mustard seed, as tiny as it is, but it becomes this giant tree where all the birds of the earth can come and sit and relax. Or like this tiny dough that when activated with the yeast, it becomes so large that we can make bread out of and so many can share. It doesn't just happen overnight. There is work that needs to be put into it. Not just any work, but careful work. Now, when Jesus talks about the kingdom of God being like these two elements, the mustard seed or the making of bread, he is telling us that we have received all the laws, we have received the word of the Lord, but if we just take it and just sit on it, it's not gonna bring the fulfillment that the Lord is promising us, the joy, the happiness that the Lord is promising us. The Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath, as we saw in the example of yesterday's gospel when he cured that woman. Jesus is telling us that these laws are made for our own flourishing. And we are supposed to learn and meditate over them, to discern and know what it is that the Lord wants us to get out of his teaching, out of his word. And when we have done that, it is like nourishing that tiny mustard seed, which then blossoms into a giant tree. It is like getting the right temperature to activate that yeast, putting the right amount of salt, the right amount of sugar, the right amount of flour, the perfect nature of folding, of kneading the bread. It is doing all of that we then experience the flourishing of the kingdom of God in which there is abundance and there is room for everyone. My dear brothers and sisters, if you have not planted anything in your life, I will challenge you today maybe to plant a flower or a tree or a shrub, or maybe to even bake bread, just to see what it takes to bring these things to fruition. Have a great day, and I look forward to hearing your stories of bread making or plant planting.